Hello and welcome back to the Solo RolePlayers Podcast. Today on the show, I am very excited to finally get my teeth into a game that's been on my table for quite a while now, getting set up and prepared. This is one of the bigger, deeper, richer games that I have attempted solo, and I am a little nervous, but also very excited to be trying out for the first time proper Dolmenwood. Now, if you don't know what Dolmenwood is, I do recommend you go back and check out, I did an episode where I did like a first look of it. Go back and listen to that episode, but a little brief overview of what I did in that first look was set up just a little bit about what this world is. And the world is kind of as it is in the book. This is new for me. There is an established lore going on. Outside of Forbidden Lands, I don't think I've had that so much. And Forbidden Lands is everything happened in the past, you know, and all the stuff happening in the present is kind of, I don't know, it feels like it leaves more space for you to sort of fill in. Or maybe I just didn't read enough of it is also another possibility. In this case, we have this whole forest, this whole realm called Dolmenwood, which has a history. It has factions acting in it. And I must say, this campaign book is so comprehensive in talking about all the connections. And I think that comes from this being an older setting. I mean, not old, but it was a setting for D&D, as I said in that first look episode, and it has been added to and built upon and refined for years before it was released as its own product. So that's where it is, and we're gonna start kind of small. I think that is always a good thing to do. I now have a little bit in my head and in my notes about what is going on in the world at large, but we are just a small level 1 character in that world, and the larger machinations of what is happening with the Cold Prince and Etarnaway and the Sleeping Dragon and the Witches and the Droon and all this other stuff going on, which is happening in the world around me, is not relevant to us just yet. We are just a small, tall, actually, elf hunter called Remy, who I have established in another episode I did over on the Patreon, which was my character creation, where I created my character Remy. PJ here from the fairy realm. It's really weird here and kind of foggy, but I just wanted to drop in to let you know that the character creation episode that past PJ mentioned is now available for free over on the Solo RolePlayers Patreon. That's Patreon/Solo RolePlayers. I'll put the link in the show notes. You can go and sign up as a free member and listen to it in the browser there. Of course, if you are a Solo RolePlayer member tier or higher, that is already in your premium feed from last week. But yeah, go check it out. It's a little character creation I did on the radio. It's pretty chill, a bit of fun, normal character creation stuff, and you can go check that out over on the Patreon. And another little announcement as well, I have just launched a giveaway for Dolmenwood December. You can also check that out if you sign up as a free member to the Patreon, and we are giving away the beautiful GM screen for Dolmenwood, which is not only beautiful, but also really, really helpful. I have my own copy as well. I am looking forward to using it in my play this week as I continue my Dolmenwood sessions, and also the wonderful map book, which is really, really cool. A truly multi-layered map book. You really have to see it to understand what's going on, but it is so rich, so thick. There's maps for fungus over the entire world. It is just wonderful. So again, you can go and check out that over on Patreon/Solo RolePlayers on the free feed. Just sign up for free. I know you free members out there don't get a lot of love. I put most of my time into the paid stuff, and I don't get that much of a chance to write articles. I do want to do more in the new year as things settle down. But in the meantime, I just wanted to give you these couple of things as an appreciation for just being there. So thank you, and go check it out. Back to the actual play, where I created my character Remy, whose full name is Dream of Remembrance, and she is an elf hunter. She's 770 years old, and she is a chronicler. She, in my head, and I don't know if this happens in Dolmenwood, but she grew up with a human father, or guardian. I'm not sure if it's her real father, and I'm not sure she knew her mother. I might be changing this now from what I did in the character creation, but I think she didn't know her mother. She just knows that she is elvish. She has pale features that someone who knows better might know that it does indeed look like she comes from the Frost Elves, or the Cold Elves, I think they're called. Frost Elves. And she is fascinated about the history of Dolmenwood, and she is a chronicler. She has sort of made it her goal to, by way of filling in the hole of not understanding or knowing her own history, she wants to go out into the world and chronicle stuff. Chronicle the world and history and what's going on, and maybe discover herself along the way. And she is set out on her own. She is a hunter by trade. They grew up in a remote part of the forest I'm not sure where exactly yet. I think somewhere down away from the other main faction. So let's say in the far southeast, maybe? Wait, other side, southwest maybe? And sort of away from civilization mostly, or maybe it's even not too far away from here. But either way, she is out on her own. She grew up learning how to hunt. She's now out on her own. And she has been, and this is our opening scene, which I'm going to talk a little bit about in a second. She is trekking through the forest, and she has had something that has been following her for a while. She doesn't yet know what it is. I know it is a crookwell, I think they're called. Crookwood? Crookhorn? And these crookhorns, she doesn't know this yet, but in this area, the crookhorns have been becoming, or in general, the crookhorns have been becoming more and more problematic. And we know that they are being sent out by Etanaway to kind of feel out into the world, and Etanaway wants to spread its corruption out into the world. And so something has been sort of nearby. Remy has been managing to avoid it so far, and she doesn't really know what it is, but she does know that something is sort of tracking her. And so let's start with this first scene. Now, this is already something different for me, and I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with it, but as well as trying a brand new game here now, I'm also going to be trying for the first time the plot unfolding machine instead of Mythic. Mythic would be my first choice usually to play a game like Dolmenwood. I may revert back to Mythic. I'm not sure yet, but I do want to try the plot unfolding machine. I have an interview this afternoon, with the designer of the plot unfolding machine, and I'm very excited to meet them and learn more about it, but I haven't actually tried it. I don't fully understand it yet, and do note that I'm using the paper thing and not the app. The app looks like it's really comprehensive and probably really useful. I just really, if I can at all help it, want to keep screens out of my play. So I'm just gonna play with it and see how it feels, and I might switch over to Mythic. I don't even know if I'm going to be playing in scenes. As I do this, I feel like I should be doing Mythic. Okay, I'm going to follow it as far as my understanding is. Let's just see how we go. And maybe I convert to Mythic. So I'm going to try and play without strict scenes necessarily. That is something that, although is really useful in Mythic and has been one of the things in Mythic that really helped drive my narratives forward, just for the fun of it, I want to try a different approach and still having this narrative focus and this engine actually throwing narrative things into the work like Mythic does, but without having to be in scenes, just to see if I like it better. I'm not sure I will. I will, however, create a scene now because starting the game, very first scene, we do need to set up and establish what is happening. So we're going to fill in details as we go, but I have pre-loaded the plot unfolding machine with a couple of elements, game world elements, as it does say that you are supposed to do. And we're just going to start and see how we go. So let's ask, very first thing we're going to do is let's look at a descriptive oracle here. This oracle I really like the look of. So let's see. And I'm not sure if this is how I'm supposed to use it yet, but it'll work out as we go. So we are creeping through the forest. We are now at the point where we're looking for somewhere to refresh, to restock. We've been out in the bush for a little while, in the forest for a little while. We're looking for signs of civilization, and we're sort of following the odd path, and we're in the middle, like we still have some rations left, that kind of thing. We're not desperate yet. Doing a little bit of hunting, a little bit of foraging, sort of mapping things out as well, noting these special stones that we get to. And before in fact, maybe that's a good idea, is to pick a point on the map and actually look at what's happening in that hex. Because this game has a wonderfully in-depth hex system with a lot of description about what's going on in the hexes. So actually, that's what I'm going to do to start my first scene. I'm going to vaguely look at the map where we are, and it looks to me like we're in the forest just outside of Black Swell, in a fairly... Okay, there's two hexes. One has big mushrooms in it, the other one is fairly blank. Is it the one with the mushrooms? I am going to be using, instead of the oracle in PUM, I'm going to be using my yes oracle, which tends toward yes. So that is rolling, and I've got a new thing to add to this, actually, which I can talk about now, if I find my correct dice. The other thing is I don't know how I'm going to be approaching this game yet, how old school, like not worrying too much about all the big narrative stuff and just sort of trekking through, or how narrative driven I'm going to do it yet. I'm not sure. Anyway, this is my idea. This is brand new first test of this concept, which is I have my yes oracle, which is where I roll 2d20, and if one of them is under 10, the answer is yes. That gives us about a 75-ish% chance that the answer is going to be yes. Then I look at the color of the dice that is higher, and that flavors the answer. Red being aggressive, impulsive, those active, passionate kind of flavor, and then blue being calm, collected, considered, planned, that kind of flavor. And that, where necessary or where appropriate, can sort of add to the flavor of my questions. And the few times I've used it so far, I really, really, really like it. That's not what we're talking about this episode. We're talking about Dolmenwood. So the thing I've added to this now is that when I roll both die under a 10, I'm going to have a little counter and tick that down as we go. So when I roll both die under a 10, tick it down as we go. And then the next time to get a yes, it's going to be under a 9. So you're basically, it's not rolling under a 10 per se, but rolling under whatever your counter die is. I guess that's the pressure die, maybe. Chaos, for one of it, but it's the same idea as the changing chaos factor. And then something is going to reset that. I'm not sure what that is. I think maybe when you hit exactly on the number on the tension die, that is when you get an interrupt or a random event, I think. Yeah, random event, and then you roll on a character list or whatever. It's very mythic. I'm still not sure how this is going to work. It needs fleshing out. But something else happens. And depending which one hits, it's either a positive thing or a negative thing. Or a passionate thing or a cold and considered thing. Not yet sure. This is a first test of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask, which hex is it in? One hex has big mushrooms in it. I really like big mushrooms. The idea of it in this game. They look really cool on the map. And one of them looks completely uninteresting. Probably it should be the uninteresting one. So let's say, is it the blank hex? And I roll a 3 and a 1. So they are both under the tension die. So the answer is yes. It is the uninteresting hex, which is 504. And because they were both under it, I tick it down to a 9. I think that's how my system's going to work. Let's see. Now I'm going to go to this text, 1504, go to this hex, and see what is here, and use that to help set up this opening scene. The Barrow Bog. So this is a boggy area. Okay, let's do sight, smell, sound, taste, touch, feel. Sight, smell, sound, taste. So there is a taste of damp and sort of decay in the air as Remy sort of creeps her way into this new area, and it's this incredibly thick, sucking bog. She would have to really pick her way carefully to sort of get through it, and she can hear something. She's aware of something tracking behind her, and she knows that her best bet is to go through this bog. Or hide and wait for this thing and trying to draw it into a trap, which she can have a crack at taking it out. It's still in forest though. Boggy forest it is. It says here, so sodden ground, stunted, twisted trees, wreathed in perpetual mist and an eerie silence. I wonder, are we going to use this opportunity to try and to try and take down whatever's been hunting us? I think not just yet. I think we're going to push into the bog a little bit further. And as we do, we notice that there are these scores of ancient burial mounds. I don't think that's something we're looking to go into just yet, although it is attractive to us as a chronicler. And I think there is someone else we're going to meet here. In the setup for this game, in the episode that I did roll up 2 additional characters and use their stats to give me an idea of who they were. And they are characters we're going to meet. But since then, we haven't met them yet. Maybe they live in this bog somewhere at the other end of the bog. Since then, however, I decided that I was a bit concerned about this being too like any other fantasy sort of game that I'm playing, like Forbidden Lands or something like that. And I want to make sure that I lean into what makes this setting special. And that is that weird, creepy, kind of cute but creepy British folklore, dark fantasy, foresty place. And so what better way to do that than to introduce one of the kindred, I think they're called, who is very non-standard. And so I think Remy is going to meet someone here, and I think it's going to be a mossling. But we'll get to that. What is our motivation here? Let's look. When I asked that question before, is it the hex? Yes, cold and considered. So yes, it is this place. And okay, the cold and considered means that Remy actually chose this place intentionally. She chose a boggy area that was foggy because she knew that that would help her get a jump on this thing that was tracking her. She's sick of being followed now, and she wants to... She's not a huge fighter. She's a hunter more than a fighter. But she wants to get this thing off her back. It's making her really uncomfortable, and it's... Although this is a creepy, scary part of the forest, this is why she went there. See how nice this oracle is? That completely gave me motivations just by looking at the... having that red and blue die. Really... Every time I use this, really happy with it. So that means we are going to try and set up a little trap for this creature. As we get in here, we're going to do our first roll of the day of the game and see... And by the way, I am not at all up on the rules of this, as is usual when I start one of these games. But we're going to do our first roll and see if we can see a good ambush spot. This is going to call for a skill check. This is something I'm not used to. This is using D6s as much as D20s for rolling skill checks. So, for example, when to use a skill check? Listen checks, that's not what we're doing. Search checks, searching for secret doors or traps, not really. Survival checks, rolled when trying to find food in the wild. So survival, I think I often get wrong and use it as more of a blanket thing. But I guess it's more like bushcraft. And specialized skill are explained in each class. So we've got, as our specialized skills, we have tracking, survival, alert, and stalking. I don't think any of them count for us just yet. We're not stalking this thing yet. We're trying to find a spot. I'm going to call it a search. We're searching for a place which is going to be good for hunting. Actually, that might be stalking. I'm going to call that stalking, actually. Yeah, okay. A hunter may make a stalking check to remain undetected when the only cover available is light brush. So we're trying to remain undetected and sort of hide. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're hiding to set up an ambush. So now we need to roll in our check. Now, unfortunately for us, our stalking is only 6. That might be something we're going to increase later on, because when I level up, I get to increase that. We now have to roll. We roll a d6, add any additional modifiers. If the result equals or exceeds the target's skill target, the check succeeds. Skills default to a target of 6. Now, what are we adding for that? So the referee may apply modifiers to a skill check, ability checks, saving throw, or attack roll, depending on the difficulty. So I think that I'm not entirely sure if there's another modifier, but I think it's just a situational modifier we're looking at. That means I need to roll a 6 with a modifier. I think because we are in the wilderness, and I think because we are in a foggy, dark sort of an area, but it's still trees, still forested, and because Remy has this leaf cloak, which I can't find where I read that, but it does give her a special ability, camouflaged and leafy, so I'm going to give her advantage, if there is advantage in this game, and I think that's going to give her a benefit in leafy areas. So how leafy is this area? And then it's going to be either a +2 or a +1. It says twisted trees, so I think it's not that leafy. Are these trees mostly dead? Those are 2 rolls under that is a 2 and a 16. So one of them is under the 9, so yes, the trees are mostly dead. The higher one is the cold and considered and collected. So yes, it is, but Remy is going to look for somewhere where she's very aware of her outfit and how being hidden looks like and how to stay hidden. So she finds an area where she can maybe do that. But it's not as good as it being in a leafy forest. I'm going to give her a +1 to that. She is going to see if she can now... what's it called? Stalk this thing and try and get back up on that hunter. And we are rolling a 6. Excellent. Nice little mushroom symbol for the 6. So Remy manages to find just the sort of spot and stay hidden and pick a path around to get behind this crookwood where she is now going to make an attack. She's also managed to find a way that she gets behind it so the bog is between her and the bog, and she's in an advantageous position, and she draws her bow creakily as she watches this thing walking around, sort of sniffing at her tracks. I'm going to look up what a crookhorn actually is and see if it sniffs. Sniffing at her tracks and draw the bow. The bow creaks as she goes to take the first shot, and we are going to enter combat once we figure out what a crookhorn actually is. Flipping over to the monster book for the first time, let's see what a crookhorn actually is. Also, do excuse any background noise as I have not had the luxury of a quiet house for quite a while, so I just have to get on with it and record anyway, even though there's lots of people running around doing stuff. This is nice. We actually have an encounter table copied in the end pages of the monster book. Excellent. Monster by type. Let's see here. I have no idea what a crookhorn actually is. I hope it's not too scary. Crookhorn level 2. Okay, that might be alright. Page 28. Aha! Oh dear. So the crookhorn is 7 feet tall, feral, disease-ridden breggles, twisted by the evil magic of their master Atanaway. Roam northern Dolmenwood as pillagers, brigands, and burners of villages. These guys are not much fun. There's only one of them. I wonder if we're best trying to sort of outsmart them somehow, or if we can kill them. For the sake of trying out this game and seeing how it works, let's just play it, because I don't really know the rules yet. It has 2d8 dice. I've been thinking a little bit about other ways to roll up hit points here. And I don't know enough about probability, but I was thinking of a way where you could roll, like, I don't know, like roll your damage, and if your damage goes above their hit dice type, they lose that dice, and when they lose 2 dice, they just die. But it does mean it's not just a matter of counting. That's probably a layer of randomness we don't need. So it has 2d8 dice worth of hit points, so that is going to be 4, and 8 is 12. And we're going to see if we can surprise it. Let's just read a little bit more about it. They favor clubs and spears. Is it a club? Is it a club? That is a 6 and a 9, so both of them are under. And now something interesting happens. Now we got an exact match with our die. Excellent. Okay, let's test this out now. Our tension die was 9. I rolled on the Oracle dice a 6 and a 9. That means A, both of them are under, so we are going to tick that down 1 to an 8. B, we matched the number with the blue die, so something happens now. Something cold, calm, considered cool happens. Not cool like awesome, but, steady. And I don't know whether it's positive or negative. I'm tending to think it's positive because both die are underneath, because the other die is also underneath. Maybe that's getting too complicated. I'm going to think something positive happens. And I think what that is it steps into a trap. I asked, does it have a club? The answer is yes, and something happens. So because I was asking a question about its weapon and its fighting capabilities, I think maybe it steps into a trap. A trap that was set here by someone who lives in this bog and doesn't want things like crookhorns coming in and entering its space. So I think what happens is the crookhorn steps into this trap. I'm going to give it a saving throw, I think, to see if it can react in time, if that's how saving throws work. I don't think that is how saving throws work. Doom Ray, hold, blast, spell, magic. I wonder, is it a magical trap? Let's look up a mossling for a second, because I think this is set by our little mossling friend who we're going to find. Could be a woodgrue. Mosslings are an obscure, stunted folk native to Dolmenwood, with an affinity for the dank plants and moulds of the deep woods. They're stocky, pudgy build with green or yellow-brown skin, textured like wrinkled bark and patched with mould, lichen, fungus, and creeping plants. So I'm wondering if actually... So they have a natural habitat of dark, dank forests, where I think this boggy area is maybe not its natural habitat so much. But maybe it's where it hunts. Let's look at this woodgrue. No, I think it's a mossling. So this mossling has set a trap. I imagine that they make things out of trees and stuff. Do they have magic? They worship gods of moss and fungus. They are above all burrowers. Excellent, because this is where there are a lot of burial grounds, and so it's maybe converted at one of these burial grounds for its home, inhabiting natural caves where they're found. Fantastic. They're subjects of the Duke Brackenwold. They're welcome in human settlements, so on and so forth. So, mosslings practice carefully guarded quasi-magical crafts known as knacks. Cool. Each mossling knows one knack, rolled or chosen in character creation. Let's look at these knacks and see. You can see how... you can see how this works, right? I'm learning the rules as I go just by sort of playing out the game. 112. And sort of also creating an accidental character just by playing. And because I'm thinking about this stuff, it is affecting my oracle interpretations, which is, I think, a good thing. It makes everything sort of feel like it ties more in together. Page 112. Okay, I like this. The first one that I see here that makes any sense to me, I'm not even going to look at the others. Okay. Thread whistling. A mysterious whistling technique grants the mossling sympathetic control over threads and strings within 30 meters. So this guy... I'm going to make a note of this here because this is going to be our little character. This mossling knows thread whistling. I'm going to name them and maybe build a full character, or at least a companion. Maybe they don't come with us, maybe, I'm not sure. But that's what this trap is. So they have set little threads of root around the place, and it can sort of make this strange whistle noise, and it tightens up around the ankle of this crookhorn as it's sort of sniffing around following our tracks. We don't see the mossling do it, or rather do we see the mossling do it? Let's see if we can do a check here. I'm not sure what that would count as. Alert, maybe? Let's just call it alert. We get a 3. So we don't actually see anything. So we pull our bow back and we hear the creak of the wood. And as the wood creaks, we hear this strange sound and we see this little thread sort of, or maybe we don't see the root do it, but we see the crookhorn sort of like jerk and try and pull his leg and sort of start panicking a bit like a goat would being stuck in a fence. And we realize that it is trapped, and now is our time to go. Now we're going to enter combat. And I just have to look up what surprise is. I think we have a pretty good chance of getting surprise because we were hidden and the guy is now distracted. Combat, 166. So, moving into combat now. Hopefully this will be a short combat. Let's see. Haven't had to use plot unfolding machine yet at all. Okay, here we go. Encounters. Surprise. A surprise roll is made for any side that's not already aware of the other's presence. So that is their side. Each side unaware of the other's presence rolls to see if they're surprised. One player rolls for the adventuring party as a whole. The standard chance of a side being surprised is 2 in 6. This may be modified by certain situations. For example, attacking from hiding increases the chance of the opposing side being surprised to 3 in 6. So I think that is fair. Okay, so there's a 3 in 6 chance that the enemy is going to be surprised by us because we are hidden. I just want to check, do we get any other advantage to that for stalking? Okay, no. So I think that's it. We just get the we're hidden, they're not, or we're aware of them, they're not. Hang on, awareness. Sometimes one group is already aware of the other's presence, negating the chance of being surprised. So we can't be surprised. The referee would judge this based on the situation, a group making a lot of noise or carrying so on. So a surprise roll is made for any side that is not already aware. Should be a 2 in chance, except attacking from hiding increases it to a 3 in 1 chance. So 1 to 3, and they are surprised. That is a 3, so they are surprised. Surprise gives us one side surprise. The unsurprised side gains 1 round advantage, during which the surprised side cannot act. Fantastic. So as we draw this bow back and we see this crookhorn pulling at its leg and sort of bleating a little bit, we are going to loose our arrow and see if we can hit this thing with a good old-fashioned D&D roll. Now, I may end up changing, as I said in the first look episode, I may end up changing this to the white hack version of things, which I kind of like better, I think. But to begin with, we're going to do things rules as written and see how it goes. They have an armor class of 13. I have dexterity of +2 and an attack bonus of also +2. +1 to attack for whatever reason, and another one +1 to attack when I do ranged. Does that mean I have +4 to attack? Is that how it works? Let's see. Well, this is nice. If not obviously visible, a side with surprise may avoid the encounter altogether by turning back, waiting quietly, or attempting to sneak past. That's cool. Combat. So we get a free round. Attacks. So in the chaos of combat, the sequence of feints, dodges, parries, and glancing blows that may occur each round are abstracted into attack roll. This roll determines whether an attacker lands a blow on their opponent. Roll 1d20 and add any applicable modifiers. If the result equals or exceeds the defender's armor class, the attack hits and make a damage roll. Add the character's attack bonus. For missile attacks, add the character's dexterity bonus. Also, any situational modifiers determined by the referee. 1 always fails, 20 always succeeds. Okay, so we get +4. We are now trying to hit, we're going to roll, get +4. We are trying to hit an armor class of 13. So, we draw this bow back and we loose the arrow, rolling a 7 + 4 is 11, which is not quite enough. Unfortunately, just as Remy looses this bow, this creature makes a dramatic pull at its leg to try and get free of this trap. Does it get out? How do I figure that out? Okay, so looking at the save categories, I'm wondering here, I was trying to look for its strength value so I could make a strength check for it, because I assumed that save was mostly magical effects, but it does here looking at this. It does seem here looking at the save categories hold effects that hinder or prevent movement. For example, paralysis, petrification, falling rocks that may crush or pin characters. So that is a falling rock is a natural thing. He has to make a save against hold. His hold is 14. So he needs to roll under a 14 and able to get that hold. Is that how that works? Roll a d20, add any modifiers. If the result equal or exceeds the save target, the saving throw succeeds. Interesting. I thought saving throws were under. So that actually means that higher is worse. Okay, that doesn't make heaps of sense to me. I thought that would be rolling under. But hey, doesn't matter. He has to get 14 or higher. If he had a strength modifier, I would add that, but I can't see one. Attacks, weapons +1, bite +1, 1d6 plus disease, or horns, speed, morale, XP, brutish. No, don't know. So, does he roll higher than a 14? He rolls a 17. So, at this point, he pulls his leg out and the arrow sucks into the mud just near his foot, and he looks up and roars and has managed to escape from this thing and is getting ready to attack. We still have, and now we roll initiative, I guess. Let's see what initiative is. Each side rolls a d6. One player rolls for the adventuring party as a whole, and the referee rolls for each side. The highest roll wins. Either both sides may roll again for on a tie, or they resolve simultaneously. So we're going to be the white die in this case. We get 3, they get 2, so we get the initiative again, and we're going to take another shot. This thing pulls its leg out and it spots up, and we see its mad eyes as it looks at us. How far away is it? 6 is further, so it's 5. It's still quite a way away. We gave ourselves enough room, so it's going to take a whole turn to get up to us, I think. So we are now going to aim another shot at this thing, pulling out another arrow, and this time rolling an 18. This time hitting the thing fair in the... one is the head, actually. So we are hitting... I just made that up as a rule. Hitting the head, and then I get to roll damage. Our damage on a long bow is 1d6, having used now 2 arrows. So shoot this thing in the neck for 5 points of damage, and it sort of staggers and stumbles as it runs towards us, but it is maddened and it is still coming and doesn't seem that upset by it. Down to 7 hit points. It is now getting closer. What are we going to do? We don't have any close combat skills. I think we are going to scramble up a tree. So on its turn, it comes up toward us. Was it far enough away that it doesn't get to us in one whole turn? I think that was part of our setup for it. So I'm going to ask that now. We were down to 8 on the tension die. Was it far enough away that it's going to take its whole turn to get to us? That is a 10 and an 11. No, it wasn't far enough away, and the passionate one is higher. So we actually thought it was far enough away, and we misjudged how fast these things actually were. And so it runs up to us, and it is going to... does it swing its club? No, it doesn't, and that is now a match. Here we go. We got 2 16s. Both of them are a no, so that is an extreme no. An extreme no, it does not use its club. So I think it is going to... It's either going to bite or charge. 50-50, 1 to 3 is bite. It is going to charge. It flings its arms behind its back, holding its club, and it just puts its head down and just charges into us with its horns, doing 1d6 plus... doing +1, 1d6 plus disease damage. What does that mean? It's doing 2, 3 damage plus disease, which means we need to make a saving throw. When we take damage, does anything soak that up? Is that how armor works? I don't think so. Ooh, but I do think our attack modifiers apply to damage as well. Not the dexterity, that's just for accuracy, but for the damage, the hunter and the elf, I think, get an extra. They have +1 to attack and +1 when attacking at range, which does mean it's going to do an extra 2 points of damage, bringing them down to 5. Okay, but first, before it charges at us, we should have made a morale check. I'm going to ignore that because it's already charged, and we're learning how we go here. Attack rolls, page 145. Of course, there's really good navigation in this book so far. Really good. Okay, here we go. So we lose 3 hit points. We had 7. We're down to 4. This is already scary. We need to finish this thing off quickly or get the hell out of here. And now we have to roll and see if we get a disease. We have to make a saving throw against Doom, I believe. Anyone who comes into close contact with a crookhorn, including being bitten or butted, we were butted, must save versus doom or be afflicted by a nasty injury. So we have a doom save of 12 and we roll a 5. So we do not get it. And the disease we're going to get is a D4, 1. Eye leprosy. In the first week, one eye clouds over. In the second week, it blackens, now completely blind. After 3 weeks, it turns to ooze. Oh my god. We're a hunter. We need our eyes. So I'm going to make a note of that, and probably, hopefully, we're going to be helped by our little mossling friend and be able to cure the disease. Oh, hang on. We're immune to non-magical disease. Can't die of thirst. Or immune to non-magical disease. Page 151. Let me double check that. Nice to be an elf. They are immune to diseases of non-magical origins. Excellent. We're not diseased by this thing. But we do get stabbed with it. And I'm going to see, is there rules for breaking away? So if you flee from melee, your opponent gets a +2 attack bonus. Ignoring AC bonus. But it says a combatant who wishing to move at greater than half speed must turn and flee melee. So I think we can probably move, but only at half speed. Yeah, combatants can move up to half their speed in feet per round when in melee. Okay, so 40 feet. I'm not used to feet. It is a speed of 30. We're a little bit faster. So it could move 15, so 3 squares if I was tracking it on squares, and I could move 20, which is 4 squares. So I could move and I could move back faster than it and still be out of melee range. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to step backwards and try and get another shot, or we're going to try and flee combat and climb a tree. I'm not sure. As this crookhorn charges up to us and just scratches it with the side of its horn, we sort of stagger backwards and try and scramble backwards as we get another bow out of our quiver and go to take another shot, assuming we don't roll for initiative every time. Let's check each round. Looks like each round. Initiative determines which side acts first each round. So, we are white again. This time they go first, so we managed to sort of step back and scramble, and we draw our bow, and it looks up, and its eyes clear a little bit maybe, as we're going to do this morale check we should have done when it first got hit, rolling 2d6. If it exceeds the combatant's morale, their morale breaks, and they try to surrender or flee in the next round, otherwise they keep fighting. Their morale rating is 8. So it looks up at us, and it sees us draw the bow, and we roll an 8, but it's only if it exceeds it. So it looks, and it thinks about running away, and we see it like glance off to the distance, and then it changes its mind, and it is going to take us down. It is hungry. It wants to roast us. Now, does our friend step in to help us at this point? Or I'm going to roll, let's just see what a normal encounter check is. I'm not sure if you do like encounter checks during combat, but like something happens checks. I'm just going to ask, does our little mossling interfere at this point? 7 and 1, that is both under. So yes, they do, with the cold, calm, and collected being in focus. Let's look at what else a mossling might do. Is it going to do its whistling thing again and try and restrain this creature? Let's ask. Will it do its little whistling thing again? 8 and 3. Yes, it is going to do that. And so I think from one of the trees that is nearby, sort of flings and tries to wrap around this creature. I'm going to give it another saving throw on its turn. In fact, I'm going to give it a saving throw now to see if it can still attack me. If it doesn't pass this saving throw, then it will still attack me. It is rolling against hold, which is 14, and it rolls a 4. It doesn't. So this thing is bound by this vine as it sort of wraps around its arms and giving us a chance to step back and get another shot in with a +4, rolling a natural 20 with a +4. Let me see if we get something cool for rolling a natural 20, or in this case, a mushroom. I like it when you get extra stuff for crits. It just says always succeeds irrespective of modifiers. Less exciting, but that's okay. Okay, so we are rolling a d6 of damage. If I can get a 5 on this. I get a 5 on this, so we managed to take a shot and it pierces this thing through the chest and it slumps to the ground to its knees with a final bleat and falls face first into the mud, being half hung up on this little piece of vine, and we are standing there panting, look down at our side and sort of clutch our hand to the bleeding in our side from this filthy horn that stabbed into us. And as we sort of look up and look around, we see timidly one of these little mossling creatures sort of poddle out from behind a tree cautiously and sort of look at us. And we are now going to go off and roll up who that character is. I'm going to do a little bit of bookwork and do some XP and that kind of thing, and we're going to meet and find out who our little helper and savior is, this little mossling. So I've gone off and made up a little Mossling Kindred class. Now this is something that I didn't know. You can do a Mossling as a Kindred and then choose their class, or if you want something, as it says here, some players prefer the option of a simple archetype. My speakers are turning on. Of a simple archetype for non-human kindreds. For example, playing a Mossling as opposed to a Mossling Fighter or Mossling Hunter. And then you ignore the stats, the traits from earlier in the book, and you just use this page. So that's what I'm going to do, keep it simple for this NPC character. I don't think they're going to be a full playable character yet, although I already do like them. I rolled them up, did a few juggling with the stats, and so we have a very wise, and I think quite old, Mossling. Now, Mosslings, if I didn't say, they are, in fact, let me find them in the book, and the main page of the Mosslings, and give you a description of them. So they're gnarled, woody humanoids whose fertile flesh hosts mosses, molds, and fungi. And they're kind of like woody tree goblins sort of thing. They're very strange and cutely, gorgeously ugly. And something that's really cool, which I like, I love this idea of the fungus in these woods. And in the map, there's these huge mushroom trees and things like that. And the Mosslings have what's called fungal symbiosis, which is from level 4 on, they can spend a turn to attempt to enter a symbiotic agreement with a non-hostile monstrous fungus, and I just love this. If they succeed, saving versus spell. What did that mean? Oh yeah, spell is one of the save things. If they succeed, then they get 1d4 days. They have fungal growths riddled throughout their skin and organs, and they can activate the power of that fungus once per day or per 2 levels, up to 4 times a day, and use any of the special attack or defense forms of the fungus. That is so cool. Like if you're wandering through the forest and you might like pick up an ability just for a few days until you find some other sort of fungus and then pick up some other ability. I really like that. That is cool. I just noticed in the map, the Court of the Naglord, that must be Etanaway's domain, and it looks really dark and evil. So we've got a Mossling. I don't have a name for them yet. They're not at all very dexterous, so I'm picturing them as being quite ancient. They are reasonably strong, very wise, and have reasonable constitution. So woody, but they're not very dexterous. They are old, and they are tree, so they're not very fast. Let's go with a name. I'm going to roll a d20 and see what we get. We get a 3. I think it's a male, and this says Gobblum. Yeah, I think it's Gobblum. Ebly, if it was female. Ebdval for unisex, and a surname, Ebdval. I like Ebdval because it's nice and weird. So we're going to go Ebdval. Ebdvol, and let's get a surname for them here. That is a 17, says Puffhelm, small cheese. Ebdvol, small cheese. No, the one above that, the 16, is Odd Polyp. It's definitely Ebdvol Odd Polyp. What a mouthful. I love him already. So, or maybe we don't even know if it's a him. Some extra details. This is nice. I forgot about this. There's a whole 2-page spread, as I said in the first look episode, or maybe it was the character creation. There is a whole spread on what their backgrounds are. Let's fill in his background a little bit here. 15 says that his background is he was a squirrel trainer. Oh man, there is so much flavor. So he definitely has little squirrel buddies all throughout the forest who can pass on messages and keep him informed of what's going on, that kind of thing. Squirrel trainer, just gorgeous. What else have we got? Trinket, let's give him a trinket. D Hundo, it's an 87, is a wooden peg leg that he found and converted into an incubator for rare fungi. That's perfect. I want to play this guy. I love this guy. Maybe we will if my character dies. Peg leg incubator for rare fungus. The other thing I decided to do is to make them level 4 because they are old. Mostly it's because I want to see them use this. I want to see them use this fungal. What was it called? Interesting. That's only in the. That is quite different. So they don't have this symbiosis in the normal mossling. If you choose their own class. So it really is a unique, at least it appears to be, the fungal symbiosis. It really appears to be unique. That is really embodies that kindred. Man, I love this. I love the details of this game. Okay, so, yeah, mostly because I wanted to use that fungal symbiosis. I haven't actually done the leveling up yet. I'm going to do that later. I was too excited to keep playing. I'm getting a bit long here. It's been a little scattered just because, I don't know how long it's going to be in the end. If it is a short episode, I was doing a lot of looking up rules. I have not at all internalized them yet, but that's okay. Every time I see a rule or something, it leads me somewhere else in the book and it just builds this world in my head around me. Really loving it. So what is going to happen? What I've decided is that Ebdvol, or Eb, so he says, just call me Eb. So Remy and Eb. So let's go back to where we were. Remy is injured, not too badly, but not injured. She's quite injured. This Crookhorn has fallen, and Eb sort of slowly makes his way out cautiously and sort of, feeling out as if she's going to attack or something. And she puts her arrow away back in her quiver and sort of drops her bow and sort of starts inspecting the wound on her side. And sort of starts rummaging around in her bag if she has something to fix it up. And so I think, and Ebdvol is then slowly sort of cautiously making his way up and sort of feeling her out, and then he offers to help. Let's see how healing works in this game, because I don't know. I think you just do it through rest. Oh, and Eb definitely has a pipe. I'm going to fill in those details when I finish making the character. But I just want to know about healing because I know what's going to happen next. Recovering lost HP. You heal 1 point per night when staying in a settlement. A full day's rest allows you to heal 1d3 hit points. That's rough. That's really not much healing. Let me look at some fungus and see what fungus Ebdvol might have, and maybe there's some healing fungus. I like the idea that he helps us now because we are then going to help him. Doesn't look like he can help so far. I will look into that a little bit more later, but at least he can come up and he takes a little bit of mud and seals the wound with it a little bit. And he's being sort of slow and cautious, but he is helpful. He is helping us. And after we get a breath and we maybe have a drink of water or something to eat, that kind of thing, we sort of look up and Remy says, is there a settlement around here? I'm starting to run out of supplies. And he says, yes, there is actually. There's Blackswell is the nearest settlement. And he points us in the direction of it. But he looks like he wants to say something. And rather than just walking off, Remy says, is there something you want to say? You're just sort of standing there. And he says, yes, sorry, I'm a little bit awkward. I've come out here to to relocate. I lost my old home in the ground. Let's see, what did he lose his old home in the ground to? Picking up the plot unfolding machine oracle here, which since last time I recorded the first half of this episode, I've actually interviewed the designer of this, and now I understand it a whole lot better. I just printed it out in a really stupid way, and it's really hard to see everything. So let's jump straight into this now. Let's see, why has he been pushed out of his home, or why does he need a new home? So I'm rolling a D100. This is on the description. Looks, detail, appearance, impression. That is a 99, which is windy, moving. And then I'm going to roll on the place, which is a D10. Windy, moving, is being protected by some faction. So a faction has moved in and has taken over wherever he was from. And I think it's nearby. There's a settlement nearby called Odd. Let's look up what Odd is and see if that makes a sense, if that's where he's trying to get away from. Maybe he was living happily nearby there and a new faction has moved in, and it's made him want to come out into these horrible bogs. Okay, so Odd, and I'm just skimming stuff because I don't want to read too much into it, but Odd is drifting on the borders of fairy, secret allies of the Droon. So that's when I think of moving or windy. That actually works perfectly. He lived outside of Odd, and it's now under control by the Droon. I don't know when that happened necessarily. There are rumors in Odd. Let's look up the rumors in Odd. Man, there's so much here. I'm going to roll up a rumor in Odd. Oh, I love a rollable table for rumors. 5 tells me Beast Saint statue. The statue of St. Hamfast is adorned with hides and a boar's head as a hunter's tribute, ensuring the saint's blessing and the village's fortune. Okay. That doesn't help me, but that's okay. I think so. The Droon are tethering Odd to the mortal world with their church. I think that's what it says. Over the last few centuries, Odd has come under the effect of a dimensional anomaly of unknown provenance. It's slowly drifting into the fairy realm of Deuthernia. The Droon exert the power of the monolith in the church, the orb stone, to tether the village to the mortal world. So, man, I know I need to look at what Deuthernia is. Okay, so Deuthernia is a moderately sized realm of dense primal forest. And, okay, excellent. Castle Ravenmere, deep in a pathless tract of wood, is the Duke's castle. So what's happened to Ebb here? Ebb was happily living in Deuthernia. I even think there's a pronunciation guide in this game, which is fantastic. So Ebb's been living in Deuthernia, and he got sucked through at some stage when the Droon tethered it to the Dolmenwood, to the mortal world, with this obelisk stone thing, and he can't get back, and he's been kind of living on the edges, sort of trying to get back, and now he's decided he just wants to get away from the Droon. I don't think he's treated very well by them, and so he has wandered off, and he's looking for a new home in this swamp here. And the reason he chose this swamp, if we come back to our hex, which was... I managed to lose my map somehow. It's in the book. 1504, for those playing along at home. The Barrow Bog. There are scores of barrows, ancient burial mounds dating back more than 12,000 years, and he wants to clear out one of these mounds and make it his home, and then he can live happily down with his mushrooms and just be left alone. So that is exactly what he is trying to do, and he asks us if we can help him. He said, I've helped you, you probably need, I can take you to Blackswell, I know where it is, but is there any chance you could maybe please help me clear out one of these burial mounds? If there's any treasure down there, it's yours to keep. That's no problem. But please help me do that. And we agree. And that is what we're going to do. And completely unexpectedly for me, I'm going straight down into a dungeon, which makes me nervous because I haven't been having fun with dungeons. But it's as good an opportunity as any to try it here. Let's roll up the main entrance of this dungeon. And I think we're probably going to have to leave it there. Maybe when I've edited it and I come back and there's still more time, I can tack on the next session. But let's roll up and see what this dungeon looks like. So we better see if there's an encounter first. I think in the Barrow Bog there's a 1 in 3 chance of encounters, which means 1 to 3 and something's going to get us, and we get a 5. So while we're sort of picking through the area here, it's very slow going. It's very quiet. It's very still. Let's do our sense die again. Sight, smell, sound, taste. There is just this taste of damp and fungal, not too much death, a little bit of death in the air. And we're sort of picking our way through, and he seems to know what he's doing, and he seems to know what he's looking for. And we keep going until he sees a stone slab. That's going to require a sledgehammer to open, and he says, no, close, but not quite. Although maybe he's strong enough. It says it 3 turns to open requires sledgehammers. Okay, so he says, this is the place. This is the one, this feels right, and I think as he gets close to it, out of his little peg leg, some of the little fungi start kind of reaching out and slowly like stretching toward it, and he says, this is the place, this is where they want to be. Does he have something sledgehammer-like that could open this? 3, yes he does. Cold and considered, so he knew, he carries around a big hammer. I'm going to say he has a sledgehammer. He's level 4. We could have been giving him some more stuff as well. It's not a sledgehammer with a metal end, but it's like some sort of big club. Let's see what fits that description well enough. And he's strong. And I rolled up, he had a dagger and a sling, which is maybe useful for like hunting or knocking out squirrels. I don't know how you train a squirrel, but I'm going to say he has a warhammer as well. But it's like a knobbly piece of very hard wood, but it functions like a warhammer. And he stands there and he does 3 times on this. He's seen these things before. He knows what to do. There's like a slab with a 3-pronged, like almost, like a wheel, like a lever that you sort of have to turn. Think like a Zelda game where you have to push the lever and it spins around. It's like that. And he knows how to do it, and he picks up his big hammer and goes whack, whack, whack. The thing opens up, and the whole stone front of the mound entrance rolls to the side, and he looks back at us and he says, do you have any light? And we look up and we open up our lantern. We have like a hooded lantern. We turn on our lantern, we take in a deep breath, and we step down into the crypt. That is where I'm going to leave it today for this first actual play of Dolmenwood. This is so much game here. It's so much lore. It's difficult to get started just because I haven't internalized all this stuff, but this is something that is absolutely worth investing the time, I think, to really become familiar with it. I would love to be brave enough to run this game one day and actually learn all the ins and outs of it, so I'm not flicking books all the time. But to be fair, I do not at all mind flicking through the books and learning about this game. It makes it a little hard to talk on mic at the same time. We'll see if this episode comes out or if I just use it as a summary before moving in. Maybe I should go away and play a few off mic until I have a bit more of a flow. I'm not so sure, but I cannot say how impressive this game is enough. There is just so much here, and the stuff that is here is not just your standard fantasy affair. The tiny little details and the nuances in the descriptions are just so weird and colorful, and it's really just wonderful. Really check it out. That is Dolmenwood. I very likely will be continuing to play this over on the Patreon episodes, if that's what my people over there want to hear, and if I can do a good job narrating it as I go. Not sure if I'm going to keep using the plot unfolding machine or not yet. I have to decide whether I'm going to play this like an OSR game, where the narrative is sort of like I'm using more procedure and the narrative is less story arc. In which case, I will probably just use, I don't know, I've been tempted to check out One Page Solo Engine, which I know is apparently, I just learned, is designed for Whitebox, which I'm going to try with that as well. In fact, I might do that next and then decide if that's going to be a good fit for this. Or I go into a full narrative story type thing where then I will use with Mythic and test scenes and do all that, or use Plot Unfolding Machine for something in between. It's great that we have so many options. Thank you for being here today on the show, on the Solo RolePlayers Podcast. This is a blast doing this stuff. Check out Dolmenwood if you're interested. If you didn't hear the first look episode or the character creation, if that's available to you, then go and check that out as well. Yeah. I can also recommend 3D6 Down the Line podcast. They do way back, using the OSE rules, I think, before Dolmenwood was released as its own thing. They're doing a playthrough on that. I think they're in fact doing another playthrough with the new rules for their patron, if you want to go and support that. I've started listening to the original campaign and been really enjoying that as well. I can recommend that. Until next time on the Solo RolePlayers Podcast, keep playing games, keep getting games off your shelf, and keep creating these weird and wonderful characters and stories. It's so much fun. I look forward to having you back, and we'll see you next time.